Moo Math and Science. In this video, I'd like to work on factoring expressions, and these would be appropriate for middle school or on-level classes in high school. First, what we're going to do, and this is a little bit different technique if you're still struggling with factoring expressions. You're going to pull the numbers out and put them in a sled. Then you're going to find the greatest common factor. Then you're going to write the greatest common factor in front of the parentheses. And then you're going to write the numbers and the variables inside the parentheses along with the addition or subtraction. Okay, so here's one I've kind of gotten started with. We have 48c plus 72. And here is the sled, okay, and I've placed 48 and 72 inside. And I know that 12 goes into both of these. So 12 will go into 48 4 times, and 12 goes into 72 6 times, okay? And then I'll show you how we're going to get the greatest common factor. I'm going to draw another sled, and I know that 2 goes into both of those, and that will be 2 and 3, okay? So now, to get the greatest common factor, I just multiply these two numbers on the outside of the sled, and that is 24. I write the parentheses, I write 2 and 3, and then the sign, okay? And so there it is. But I forgot one thing. Excuse me, I left out the C. So this would be 4C and 2C. Okay? Sorry about that. I made that slight mistake. I'll correct that on the next one. Okay? Now, let's factor the next one. It is 72 plus 18J. So I'm going to write 72 and 18J in the sled. Okay? And now I know that 9 will go into both of these. So I'll put 9 on the outside. And 9 goes into 72 8 times. And 9 goes into 18J 2J times. Okay? So now it is not completely factored. I now can factor out of 2. So 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 goes into 2J 1J. Okay, and so now here's the greatest common factor, so that will be 9 times 2 is 18. I'll write the parentheses, I'll write 4, I'll write 1J, and then I'll write the sign and the rest of the parentheses. So it is 18. 18. Okay, let's go ahead and now look at some that are a little bit trickier, but they're still really not that difficult. Okay, let's factor negative 12n. Let me change this. Plus 8. So I'm going to rewrite this. Negative 12n plus 8. Okay, because I want a negative lead coefficient. Okay, so I'm going to cross this out. Okay, so I'm going to write this sled out, and I'm going to put negative 12n. And whenever I have negative numbers, it gets a little tricky. I'm going to go ahead and write the signs in. Okay, so now the first thing I want to do is you don't want a negative coefficient, and a coefficient is the number in front of the variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the negative out. So I'm going to place a negative on the outside. So now I know that 4 will go into 12 and 8. So I have a negative 4. And then I ask myself, 4 times what equals negative 12? And that will be positive 3n. But now here's where it gets a little tricky. Negative 4 times what equals 8? That is a negative 2. Can't even write. Negative 2. Okay? So now I am basically factored because there's no other common factors. So now I take the greatest common factor of negative 4, put parentheses, and now I need to keep the signs from over here. So now I have 3n minus 2. Okay, so that's, and let me work another one of these. 15m minus 20. And again, we have a negative lead coefficient. So I'm going to write a sled, and I'm going to keep this in mind. So now I'm going to write negative 15m. And since we're dealing with negative numbers, I'm going to go ahead and write the negative numbers in. Okay, I'm going to take the negative number out. And so I know that 5 goes into these numbers. So 5 goes into negative 5 goes into negative 15m. What number multiplied by negative 5 equals negative 15m? And that is a positive 3m, because a negative times a positive is a negative. And now I ask myself the same thing. Negative 5 goes into negative 20. What do you multiply it by? And that is positive 4. Okay? I now have, there's no more common factors, so negative 5 is the greatest common factor. So I'll go negative 5, parentheses, 3m plus 4. Okay? Now I can check my work. Negative 5 times 3m is negative 15 3m, and negative 5 times positive 4 is negative 20, and that gives me what I started with. Okay, I hope that helped with factoring expressions, and Moo Moo Math uploads a new math and science video every day. Please subscribe and share.